So today we're going to be talking about summer and self-esteem and how to do a better job maintaining, I think, your sanity. I think Lisa Lieberman Wang says, "You are not your mistakes. They are what you did, not who you are." And Brad Sugar says, "It's what you say to yourself about yourself when you are by yourself that matters most." So today we're going to talk about the importance of structure in a summer and how that fosters self-esteem. We will also talk a little separately about self-esteem in general and what you can do for yourself and your kids this summer to feel good. So let's start with structure. So one of the things that I want to say is that, a lot of times kids feel like, oh, summer, I'm free, I have to do nothing, I want all this open time, I'm just going to game all day or watch TV or whatever. And the reality is that after about 3 days of doing that, they're bored. And they're not actually going outside, they're not enjoying the beautiful weather, and you're all kind of pulling your hair out. So what I about is how to create a loose schedule for the summer, daily routine, and why that routine is important, not just for their self-esteem, but to carry them in and to build the understanding of what it's like to have a grown-up life. So, one of the things that I notice in a lot of families is that sometimes in the summer the screen rules relax, the times to get up and go to bed relax, doing the chores relaxes, everything relaxes, but it relaxes to the point that it's actually unhealthy. It's not actually um, perpetuating a family moving forward in life the way you'd like. And so I guess what I'd like to start with is by asking a question. What are some of your plans for structure this with your families? So, what I'd like to know is, what are you doing this summer? What kinds of routines are you planning to instigate, and how are you planning to do them? I like to advocate the idea of being kind of arranging the summer like camp. And if you went to camp, you may have some idea of what I'm talking about. And if you never went to camp, you might not. So listen. The way it works at camp, and I went when I was a child, I was lucky enough to go on sleepaway camp or whatever it was, is that I had to wake up at a certain time, and then I would have to like get dressed and make sure I had my bag with all my stuff in it, my towel, my bathing suit, my lunch, my rain jacket, and then I would get on the bus, I go to camp for the day, and then I come home exhausted and have to empty out all that stuff and maybe, feed the dog or take him for a walk, and then I could watch a little TV and have dinner and so forth and so on, whatever other chores were involved. But I had an idea of what each day was going to look like, and then the weekends, of course, were more free floating. Um, my question, and I don't see a lot of answers on this, is what are your plans for structure this summer with your family? Because I do think that it matters to have a general wake up time, 8 to 9 a.m., a breakfast, get started, get a breakfast, do whatever chores you do in the morning, and then some activity. So I call that, wake up and then activity period. Do something non-screen oriented, and then another afternoon activity and then some free time. So I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your plans about summer activities? Now, for people who work and whose kids are in camp or various programs, those programs will dictate the kind of structure you'll need. But you still actually need to have a plan. When is bedtime? When are we going to shower? Is it going to be different during the week than it is on the weekend? So let's start. Let's start by having you share some ideas of your summer, or start asking me some questions. I don't see a lot of questions in the chat, so fire away. Megan Ann, homeschooling through August. Then she will take fun classes online. We keep a schedule because it keeps the home sane. Great, that's really helpful. What do you think gets in the way of keeping a schedule? I'm curious about that. And if anyone wants to share that for me, that would be great. So what are, we want to talk. We have some sort of loose ideas of what we're doing, and then what we're coming together for hopefully a dinner of some kind, maybe an evening activity. Maybe you play a game or you watch something on TV together, and then a bedtime. So we want to really come up with what I call a block schedule. All right. It's a block schedule. We have different blocks of time to do different things. And that time includes resting, maybe listening to music. That time includes a free time where you can have your screen time, that sort of thing. So Jennifer says morning breakfast, TV, outside, skills review, lunch, responsibility, pool, family game, reading, electronic time, quiet time, dinner, responsibility, then money maker, then family time, wall showers. The obstacles of making the structure are work and kids' behaviors. Megan Marie says sports camps most of June, still working on July schedule. So it does really help for your kids to have a place to go or a purpose on various days. It doesn't have to be every day, but it should be most days where they have a plan with a friend, or maybe they have a basketball or baseball game. There is summer basketball. Summer school classes for first few weeks, then morning activities to do before the heat hits. Right, so that's another thing to consider. If it's really hot in the afternoon where you live, then that's a great time for screen time, family games, chilling out, reading, watching a movie together, and do your activities in the morning. Try what I like to try to recommend is what I call a magical mystery tour. Are there some places around you that you've never been? Or that your kids have never been, that you'd like to show them? Make a list of these and pick one as a different destination. Elizabeth says, every week we go to the movies one day. Awesome. My kids wake up between 7 and 8 and go to bed at 8. They're describing. So you have something, but it's not rigid. It's loose. And if it's a beautiful day and you decide, oh, this day we're going to pack our bags, and we're going to go up to the lake or go to the ocean, you can. Peach says, when my kiddo has low motivation, that gets in the way of keeping a schedule. That's right, because when kids aren't motivated, they push up against you, and they're often obstinate. And so we want to help them. We want to incentivize them. We want to put something that they really like to do after something that they don't really like to do, and then we link them. You earn the thing you like with the thing you don't like. Rachel says, each kid is in charge of a meal each week, including meal prep, cooking, and cleanup. Fabulous. I love that idea. So you can have a different chef every day of the week. Of course, You'll probably have to be the supervising chef, but it gives kids a chance not just to experiment with cooking, but to learn an important life skill. That's awesome. Elizabeth, both me and my son are inattentive ADHD. I'm teleworking, signed up for enrichment classes for July. That makes sense, Elizabeth. And I think what you might want to try to do is have some bonus activity. So something fun a few nights a week, like go out and maybe get a pizza and sit at the park or something like that. That's not the same old thing if you can swing that. Cassandra, I have this ADHD and my children do as well. Summer has always been difficult for me because it requires me to create a new structure. I homeschool two of my children, and during the school year, it's easier because it's centered around the school day. Summer structures have always been difficult for me to create and maintain. Thank you for sharing that, Cassandra. I think what I'd like to, what I wonder about for your family is it worth having some sort of summer class that would be maybe a hobby or an interest that would sort of structure the day for your kids? Because if that's hard for you to do on your own, and try to think like this, get up, breakfast, chunk, activity, chunk, snack, chunk, maybe another activity, chunk, lunch, a big, rest, quiet time chunk, and then another activity, or just a morning activity and an afternoon thing to make it easy for yourself. The idea is easy, but to create a plan, and your kid. Michelle, regional day trips, fabulous. Similar bedtime and wake times. Yeah, you want to keep those bedtime and wake up times similar to school. I mean, it doesn't have to be quite so early, but that there is a wake up time and there is a bedtime. And then resuming personal workbooks from Lakeshore. Lakeshore is a great way to continue to help kids maintain what they've learned this year. And because this year has been 2020 was so crazy, it might be a way for them to actually earn some privileges by completing pages or chapters in those books. Tasha, my son requires a lot of reminders, so if I'm not on top of things, he's not doing anything. He says no to most suggestions. So in this situation, Tasha, what I would encourage you to do is to create like a weekly or daily schedule that's up on the refrigerator. And it's very clear. That sounds fun. That I want to begin using and involve my girls in. I want to begin showing them the process of planning meals and preparing them. And summer is a great time to teach life skills. How to pump your bicycle tire, what gardening could look like. Kids really love that, particularly if they get to eat the things that they're growing, and cooking as well. Food is always great. Shelley, my 10-year-old is always wanting to be on the go, but only going where he wants to, feeling stressed already. So I think when kids are like, I only want to do what I want to do, I don't want to do what you want to do. I think what would help is a compromise. In this block period, on this day, it will be your choice of activity. And on this block period and this day, it will be my choice of activity. And on this day, we'll decide together. And that way there's balance between who's making the decisions and what's happening. And I would encourage you to have your son write down or talk to you, and you can write down the things that he wants to do that are his choices, and you can write down the things that you want to do. there something you can do every day as a parent to feed, really for us to fill up our buckets? And our buckets are empty, much more emptier than usual because of COVID. Um, yes, he needs a lot of suggestions. Michelle York, love Cassandra's summer lunch menu plan. I'm going to look into it for my 7-year-old. So why are we talking about structure and self-esteem? You know, those seem like seemingly things that aren't related. But here's the thing. When we have a routine and when we have a structure, it grounds our kids in what to expect every day. And that expectation reduces anxiety, and it allows them a certain kind of freedom for exploration. And this is what we want to explore in the summer, trying things and seeing how they work out. Like the quotes I said, you know. So this leads me to talk a little bit about the growth mindset. I'm sorry, Jennifer, that you're having technical issues. Please watch the replay if you want. So what is a growth mindset? So Carol Dweck has done so much work about this, but it's really the ability to say, I can try something, might not work out, I can regroup and try again, or try something else again. Or I could try something and it does work out, and I'm going to refer back to that the next time I'm trying something new. And so this growth mindset is really related, ironically, to having a sense of predictability in your life so that you can start to get a sense of competency. I know what's coming, I know how to prepare myself for what's coming, and I know how to behave when that's occurring. So we improve self-esteem by improving competence, by shifting personal narratives from I can't to I'm not sure I can, I'm afraid to try, instead of I won't to or I don't want to okay, I'll give it a little shot just to see what happens. And this is a big leap for kids with ADHD because they've experienced a lot of criticism and failure, and they don't really want to experience that again. So when we're talking about fostering a growth mindset, what we're talking about is identifying and focusing on a strength, a talent, or an interest called, and these are called islands of competency, that make your special lunches and help kids feel excited about the food they're eating. Maybe go to a farmer's market and buy stuff and see how you cook it. Buy a vegetable you don't know what it is. What happens? You know, can you find a recipe that makes it interesting? I like the idea that Dana said about the Humane Society and volunteering. Of course, lots of shelters have times for people to come and visit with the animals. That can be really useful also. So I'd like to know, what are some talents or skills or interests that your kids have that they might be able to explore this summer? I'd love to hear from you. What are some things that you think your kids would be interested in expanding, developing, or digging deeper than we've already done? So please write that to me as soon as you can. Okay. So let's see. Catherine says, my grandson is coming to California. Suggestions and for routine and activities while here with the grand. What are some things you'd like to do here that you've never done? And here's I went online and I found 15 fun things to do in this area. So take a look at this. And let's see, in the morning we're going to go out, and in the afternoon we're going to come back and have a rest. Maybe we'll take a nap, and then maybe we'll go to the pool for the afternoon. uh, do some fun things with him that he might not get to do with his parents, or eat special food, or go to a flea market, or visit a museum. But you want to have that block schedule. That's really important. Would making a visual board of the schedule be good? How can I encourage follow through when I'm working so it's not YouTube and gaming the whole day? Well, that's a really good point, Elizabeth. And I think that's hard for you to do if you are working and you can't supervise. But what you do get breaks in your day during work. And so those would be breaks where your child would, I would encourage, have to be with you, and maybe that's a time where you take a walk outside. You can't, if you can't monitor your kids, you can't monitor your kids. I stop working, you need to get off and do X, Y, and Z. To be present. The one thing you could do is to work alongside your kids. So you're working, maybe you're on your headsets, but they're near you and you can see what's going on. Okay, I'm so sorry, Tasha, about that. I don't know what's happening. I hope other people are hearing. Edna says, my son plays several instruments. Right now he's playing the guitar. Well, that's great. Has he ever gone to a concert and seen a really good guitarist? What types of guitar music has he seen, and what might he like to see? What kind of music does he like to listen to? Would he like to go to a really cool guitar shop where they have like antique guitars, or I don't think that's such a thing, but like a whole range of electric guitars and that he could play around with. So it would be some fun things about guitar that would interest him. So we have that part, those islands of competency. The next thing we want to focus on is to really nurture a relationship with someone who believes in you and makes you feel good about yourself. And this is called a charismatic adult. Now, it doesn't have to be, George Clooney or anything, but it's someone who with whom your child has a relationship and feels like they really get them. And this might be an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or a teacher or a coach. But are they having contact with that person this summer? Maybe they're not, in which case, how can you facilitate and foster that relationship? Because that person helps them feel good about themselves. They feel good about themselves when they're with that person. And those can be friends as well. Shelley says, my son loves to dance, but won't let me sign him up for classes. He refuses to join anything. That's very frustrating, Shelley. I can understand that. He won't let you sign up for anything. Is he willing to sign up for anything? And if he had a friend do it, would that make it easier? A lot of times tweens and or kids and even teenagers won't sign up for something on their own because they don't have a friend. They don't want to do it by themselves. It's kind of scary and intimidating. So is there a way to do that? And particularly something with dance, which, culturally, young men can feel sometimes embarrassed about dancing. They may not want to do that, but maybe he'd want to do a hip hop class with some cool guy who's teaching the class and who could also end up being a charismatic adult. So I think we want to try to nurture some of these interests to build self-esteem. Now, I'm curious for you as parents, where your self-esteem is right now and how you can nurture it in the summer. Elizabeth, my son has recently shown interest in golf, and we found a set of kids' golf clubs at the Goodwill. Hey, high five to you, Elizabeth. So I will look that you can buy for much less money and your kids could experiment with, and you don't have to feel terrible. Oh, I spent all this money and then it was a 3-month thing, it went away. I love that idea. So let's turn to you, parents and adults, and I'd love to know, what are your goals for your self-esteem this summer? Summer is a time when we can actually let our guard down a little bit, I hope, and refuel. I know that for me, this has been a really hard, 15, 16, 18 months with COVID where I've worked more than I ever have. And I want to make some time for me. And so that's time where I'm spending with friends, but it's also some alone time. So, what would help you? Michelle says basketball skills. Haven't been on a team since the pandemic started. We've been going to the park 3 to 4 times a week so we can interact and watch older players. He's also making new friends at the park. That's fantastic, Michelle. Loves music, teaching him music theory, and enjoys an online music program, plus playing piano. Fabulous. And loves math. Parent, as an individual, as a partner. I'd love to hear some of that. Um, I know one of my personal goals is I got a sewing machine over COVID and I've hardly used it. So I really want to get to know my sewing machine and I'm going to take it with me when we go on vacation at the end of the month. And I'm excited to maybe make some napkins or something like something simple. Um, I've also been playing a lot with my puppy and doing training with him, and that's brought me a lot of joy. So, what do you want to do this summer that will bring you joy and fill up your bucket a little bit? I think we could all use some ideas. So, please put in the chat, what are you doing for yourself this summer to boost your own sense of self esteem? Heather says we were signed up for summer track, but the realization of actually running set in. Oh, yeah, she doesn't actually want that, just the social aspect. That's fine, Heather. If she doesn't want to run, that's okay. And if she's interested in the social aspect, that will push her towards engaging in the activity. Something. The reasons why they want to do it may not be what we hope for, but if they're moving towards doing it, fill up your self-esteem bucket. Michelle, enjoying play dates so I can interact with other parents and enjoying mommy son hiking trails. Ooh, that sounds wonderful. Um, Somebody's responding to Shelley. Mine is reluctant as well. Sometimes you can find a specific boy specific dance classes. Yes. And that's why I had said something like hip hop or something that was more athletic, where you actually might get a male teacher, which would be helpful. Cassandra, the last year has forced me to really work on accepting my difference. It's been a long process, but I've gotten better. Um, about giving myself grace. Oh, yes, grace. And learning to laugh at my quirks instead of feeling like they are flaws in my character. I love to craft. So I plan on doing a lot of crafting this summer. My kids also love to craft. So we usually do a lot of craft projects throughout the summer. That's fantastic, Cassandra. And I believe that you homeschool 2 of your children. So having crafts and an ongoing project, also have a family project, and that can be fun to kind of carry you all along. What else would you like to do this summer to connect with yourself? I really want to know how you as parents or individual adults or partners are going to connect with yourself this summer. I know that because I can't do long hikes with my puppy, I'm going to try to do shorter hikes as soon as he's receive the stamp of approval from the vet to go on a hike. But I can certainly do a lot of walking with him, and soon he'll be able to start to swim, so that will be fun. What do you like to do? Because I think if you can focus a little bit on growing what you like to do, then your self-esteem will naturally follow. So please share what you like to do and what gets in the way of you doing that. I'd love to help you brainstorm ways to overcome the obstacles. What gets in the way of you doing what you like to do? Anybody out there? I know for me, what gets in the way for me sometimes is I'm just tired and I don't always feel like making the effort. Or sometimes I can't remember what it is I said I would like to do that would make me happy. So I try to keep refer to it. Sometimes I need to keep things out and accessible. So I have a little table. I like to make jewelry. I have that out. I have my sewing machine on a table in this near the jewelry. So I have a little craft corner. Some people like to garden. What do you like to do that brings you joy, and what gets in the way of doing that? Heather, I need more outside time, walks around home, more state country parks, going to lake, spending time with friends. What has gotten in the way? I've been spending all of my time um, with work and helping my kiddo with school. I hear you on that. I hear you. And I hope that this summer you'll put into your block schedule some blocks to do that. And if you have someone who can take your kids for your kiddo or kiddos for an hour or two so you could be by yourself in nature, I highly recommend that. Angie says anxiety gets in my way. I'd love to know more what you're actually anxious about. Tell me more, Angie. Are you anxious about seeing other people? Are you anxious about what you'd say to other people, just leaving the house, COVID? Fill me in. Anybody else? To decide what to do? I was talking with a client yesterday, and he really wants to have some time outside and out of the house and go away, and he's having trouble finding places to take the dog, but his search was very narrow, and so we talked about thinking in other categories. What's it like to open your mind and instead of just looking in your 2-hour radius, look within a day drive and see what's available. Heather, kiddo is 15. She doesn't need me, but she needs me. I got you on that, Heather. But you could definitely go for a little time by yourself with a 15-year-old. Elizabeth, I realize I need more intentional downtime. Catching up on TV shows and phone apps is easy, but not as fulfilling. That's so true. When we're on TV, when we're on our phones, we're actually experiencing time confetti, because we say we have a half hour, I'm just going to relax, but then I'm on my phone, but then I'm going to relax, but then I'm on my phone, but then I'm going to relax. And actually you're not really relaxing, because each time you listening to something from your phone, a beat, interrupted time where you actually don't watch on something else, maybe you know um, cook something special that you've never made before. Listen to music while you're doing it. Angie, just having a busy schedule with always so much to do, overwhelming and exhausting at times. Yes, so you're running on a very high energy level, a fast pace, and you're feeling anxious, and it's hard to sort of downgrade from that. So maybe the expectation isn't a full stop, but a partial stop, and then perhaps more slowing down. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I know it was a little bit gnarly in there in the beginning with the technology. It's great to be here, and thank you for sharing. I hope all of you are able to create a flexible schedule that serves you this summer and your kids, and you're able to find some time not just to nurture their self-esteem by growing and watering and fertilizing interests that they have, but doing something for yourself too. You need it and you deserve it. Please follow me on Facebook and check out my website, www.drsharonsaline.com. Have a great day. Bye-bye.